The James Comey firing remains a huge story here in Washington, but how much does the rest of the country really care about it? More on that in a moment. Meanwhile, since the drama seems to have peaked while the search for new FBI director continues, the press has kind of moved on to the fallout stage, as often happens with any scandal or controversy, and have concluded, not shockingly, that the whole episode, in the view at least of some news organizations, have done irreparable damage, or at least long-term damage, to Donald Trump's presidency. You have the New York Times saying that Republicans on the Hill are so concerned about the firing and the way it was handled that they are sort of going their own way, that they are pursuing their own agenda, that they have viewed with dismay the things that Donald Trump has said about the former FBI director. But on the own agenda part, I mean, you got to remember, Donald Trump essentially completed a hostile takeover of the Republican Party. So when it comes to issues like health care, taxes, and so forth, it was probably always true that particularly in the Senate, Republicans were going to push back and not adopt the entire Trump agenda. Maybe that's exacerbated a bit. It's certainly true that when your approval rating is, let's say, 40% or below, you have less clout with lawmakers of both parties, but certainly also with your own party in terms of pushing things through Capitol Hill. Washington Post had a front page piece saying that Moscow just loves the chaos that it allegedly has enveloped the Trump presidency, and this is kind of a win for the Russians. Except I see a little bit of a logical fallacy there. So if the Russians intervened in the election through the hacking, with the express goal of hurting Hillary Clinton and getting Donald Trump elected president, if Trump is consumed by chaos, for lack of a better word, then it seems that he can't get much done. Whereas if he were a stronger president, perhaps he could discuss more international cooperation with Moscow, could talk about the eventual lifting of U.S. sanctions. I mean, it's always good if the country with which you are an adversary is somehow involved in political gridlock, but I don't think that's quite as good as having a president that you can deal with, especially given the emerging relationship between Vladimir Putin and President Trump. But now we come to this question of the media obsession. I talked to Kellyanne Conway about this on my show on Sunday. She talked about the myopic obsession that many journalists she believes has with the Comey story, that she says overshadowing some more substantive things that the administration is doing. My response to that is, yeah, but who was it that created the distraction, both not just with firing Comey, but talking about canceling the press briefings, talking about the possible existence of tapes? That would be the president. But I'll easily concede that a lot of Washington journalists are a lot more consumed by this than ordinary folks. So in a Wall Street Journal, the Wall Street Journal NBC poll, it is true, 29% of those questioned approve of the Comey firing. Just 29%, 38% disapprove, but here's the key. About a third, 32%, said they had no opinion. It just didn't matter to them that much, or they hadn't absorbed that much news about it. Now, again, we have a high figure, 78%, saying in this same poll that there should be a special prosecutor or a special commission to look into the Comey firing. Okay, that's fine. But then you get to the top line. What is the president's approval rating? It's 38%, according to Wall Street Journal NBC, which is virtually unchanged. It's 1 point down from the last survey. So it seems that for a lot of people, however much they might not like the way the Comey firing was handled, however much they might like to see an independent investigation, they still have pretty much the same view of this president as they did before. And here's where I think, when the press gets sort of churned up with all the process and the deep, dark implications, for a lot of folks are a lot more concerned about, are they going to keep their health insurance, the job situation, infrastructure, do they get a cut in their taxes, than in all the twists and turns of whatever is the Washington scandal du jour. That doesn't mean that the Comey firing isn't an important story, and as a journalist, I certainly believe it is an important story. But we have to be careful of not presuming that, like us, everybody's on Twitter all day, everybody's watching cable news all day, and looking at the latest twists and turns. So far, at least, I don't think this has hurt President Trump very much. If he picks a new FBI director that is sort of respected and considered a bipartisan choice, then at least in the eyes of the rest of the country, this story could fade pretty quickly.